How do you feel about white people wearing their faces till they can't anymore?
Yeah, white people wearing their Air Forces,
Yeah.
the G-Nikes, so they can't anymore. Like
Oh.
full on creases,
Oh.
mad dirty, busted up shoes, talking to you as you walk.
Yeah.
It's usually white women that do that.
Does any part of your family like speak
My native language.
you know, like, you know?
That's ridiculous. You see, that's the problem with the black community, is that we're racist to our own people.
Welcome to the second episode of the Double 45 podcast. I'm Kappa,
And I'm KZ.
and we have.
Richard, also known as Mr. R&B.
So let us know how you came up with your name, Mr. R&B, for the people who do not know.
Absolutely. So people think Mr. R&B is a joke, but it's actually the three initials of my name. So my first name is Richard, my middle name is Abdurrahman, I'm West African, and my last name is Bagayoko, so Mr. R&B. That's how I got my name.
Okay, so you're West African, but you're very light skinned. So what are you mixed with?
I'm mixed with Polish and West African.
All right, so can you tell us how your parents met? Like coming from two whole different backgrounds.
Yeah, for sure. They met in New York City. They met at a club in 99, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, New York is the most diverse city in the whole world. We got cultures from all over here. So yeah, just a special night, and that's how I'm here.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I got a question. Speaking on that, do you feel like in 2024 you could find love? And then also like, that's interesting because I feel like you can't find a wife in a club. Cause like me personally, I can't mess with a party girl. Like I don't party myself or anything. So
Yeah.
so how do you feel about that?
For sure. I'm not really a party person myself either. My mom, funny enough, wasn't. She just happened to go out that night with her friends at work, and stuff just happened. So you never know where you're gonna meet your partner. You can meet him at a party, you can meet him at church, you can meet him at school, you know. Love is gonna find you no matter where you are, if it's meant to be. But yeah, I mean, definitely in terms of at a party, it's not very likely to meet your wife there. In terms of finding love in 2024, I think it's definitely harder than it was 25 years ago. I think it's still absolutely attainable. I'm still looking for my wife. I want to start a family one day. So in terms of is it possible, of course. Is it harder? Yes.
Alright, so what is a typical type of girl that you're into?
Looks wise or like
Race
Like-
specific.
race specific?
Yeah, race specifically, and then what type of like personality would your dream woman have?
Okay, so race, why I love Hispanic women, I love Latinas. I mean, that's like the model for me.
Okay.
I like black women too,
Mhm.
but Latinas is probably number one. I went to school in East Harlem, Spanish Harlem, so that's what I've been surrounded by my whole life. That's what I love. I'm not gonna get into the physical because that sounds weird and immature.
Yeah.
You know, if I say Latinas, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then in terms of personality, I want a woman that's understanding. I want a woman that's respectful. I want a woman that's family oriented. I don't want a party girl. I don't want a girl who drinks. I don't want a girl who smokes. I don't do that, so I don't want that for my woman. I want a girl who works out, takes the gym seriously, takes not even the gym, but just her health, you know. I think that's really important. Health is wealth, so I want a woman that takes care of herself. And a woman that isn't promiscuous in terms of like, you know, just a good, respectful woman, you know, that's gonna respect my boundaries when I put them, just like as if I would respect hers if she had them.
So growing up mixed and coming from a black and white background, have you ever noticed any type of racism within your own family?
Yeah, actually. My grandpa, love him to death, but he did not mess with my pops and he did not mess with me. My mom is white, so on his side of the family. But after I was born, that racism kind of shifted. He realized that black people are people just like everybody else. We're not any different. And I was able to change his way of thinking because a lot of racist people in this world, they just aren't familiar with other cultures, you know, they don't know. And racism is taught, you know, you're not born a racist, so they're just going off of what their family has told them and what their environment has sculpted them into being. But it's gotten a lot better, and you know, people are more educated now on not being so hateful, I guess you could say.
Yeah. All right, so I had a question. Speaking on, you know, the racist topic, do you feel like white Americans have their own culture, or do you feel like they steal cultures from different people?
I don't think white Americans really have culture. All their culture's stolen. But I mean, in terms of culture, they do have is fast food, muscle cars, big engines, NASCAR, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
And just being a relative annoyance, I would say. Yeah, their music is all stolen, rock and roll is stolen. You know, I find it kind of crazy how they went from owning our people to nowadays wanting to be like our people in terms of our fashion and our music taste and everything else. It's funny how it's come full circle.
Now, yeah, because
You hear
there's
that?
white kids getting low tapered fades.
Yeah.
Like, what white person needs their hair cut done with clippers? Like, they have straight hair, it's scissors. And speaking on that, how do you feel about supercuts? How do you feel about supercuts?
That's a big transition. You went from racism to a barbershop, but in terms of supercuts, I've never gone. I've heard bad stories. I don't think I go. I don't think I trust them with my hair. Take my hair very seriously.
So speaking on your hair, like growing up, what was your mom's view on your hair?
Her view on my hair was no braids.
Mm-hmm.
That don't make me look like a thug.
Yeah.
But she loves my afro, my curls, so I've always worn that. I mean, she's not wrong in a sense, like if you wear cornrows or whatever, or twists, it's not making you look like a thug, but you don't look like the classiest individual. You know, your appearance and what you wear, you know, it does say a lot about you. First impressions are very important, especially in the corporate world. I want to be a lawyer. So in terms of my career path, dealing with racism that's already there and stereotypes that are there, if I want to make it far in my career, then wearing braids, as much as I love them, is not the best decision.
So, how do you feel about white people wearing their faces till they can't anymore?
You said white people wearing?
Wearing, yeah.
Yeah, white people wearing their Air Forces, the G-Nikes, so they can't even. Like full on creases, mad dirty, busted up shoes, talking to you as you walk.
Yeah.
It's usually white women that do that.
So how do you feel about them, like, you know, like violating their shoes on a different level?
Nah, I think it's terrible. They got fungus and mold and stuff in their shoes, and you know, they wear it as like a badge of honor. Like for me, like I don't like buying new stuff a lot. I take care of the stuff I have.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's very weird. Like I've seen some crazy shoes. They're like brown. Like I don't know how you go from white to brown.
All right, so being mixed, I had a question. What is one positive that you would put into the black community to make a greater change, and then what is one positive you would put in the white community to make a greater change?
Ooh, wow. It'd probably be the same change for both, that, you know, telling the black community white people aren't that bad, and vice versa. Like, we actually get along really well. We have a lot of common interests, especially in terms of black Americans and white Americans. Like, they are the same people, just in different environments. I think that, you know, our cultures are so different because of where we're raised, but we share a lot of similarities, and that's why both sides try to be like each other so much.
One thing I would change is bringing blacks together, because I understand a lot of blacks do not like whites for what they've done over the years, but at the same time I feel like a lot of blacks are in competition with each other, and like we put each other down too much.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like if we were to like work as one, work as a whole, and I feel like more change would be done faster.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially in terms of like black women and black men even bringing each other down and like having these crazy expectations for what they should be, especially on the black side, is just bringing each other up, you know, because they've been oppressed in so many different ways for so long. So why are we fighting amongst each other?
Yeah.
You know, we shouldn't be fighting anybody, but definitely not ourselves.
Nah, word.
Yeah.
So going back to your West African heritage, like not to be like racist, but like just to like understand the stereotype. Does any part of your family like speak
My native language?
you know, like, you know?
That's ridiculous. You see, that's the problem with the black community, is that we're racist to our own people. We take cultures that are really sacred and we take it as a joke. We need to respect it. Because if I were to come at you, I'm not gonna even say that. Because we're here to be respectful.
That I was trying to be respectful.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You tried to be funny, and that wasn't funny. But no, my family on my dad's side does speak our native language called Bambara. We do speak it. But yeah, I think that's a big thing actually in the black community, if I could tell the black community and the African community, because they view each other as different, black Americans versus Africans. We're all black people and we're all oppressed in the same way, and we all have shared values. Big problem with the African community is that we view ourselves as better than the black community.
So speaking on that, like your native African family, do they judge you in a way for like your upcoming on being African American?
They don't, and they actually almost are even more happy to see me, because it's not common to see a light-skinned West African like myself. So they are almost amazed by it, you know. And no, I've never felt judged anyway. I mean, my dad has always made a big effort to, include me in the culture, and just make me feel comfortable. And he got me used to my people really early on in life.
How do you feel about a black person judging another black person for being whitewashed, or like a white person judging a white person for acting black?
I mean, I've seen it on both sides. I've seen white people try to act black. I've seen black people, funny enough, they're not doing it on purpose. They're doing it because they view it as what's cool or what's comfortable for them. And if they're faking it or not, they're just doing what feels right for them. I think it's very silly. I've seen it a lot. In middle school, I went to a middle school on the west side called Mount Hall 2, and it was, I wouldn't say predominantly white, but it was in a nice area, near Columbia. There was one black girl in it, and she was like whiter than all the white girls. And it's funny to say like a race has a stereotype or a personality, but they do. Every race has its own personality. Yeah. So, but yeah, and it was so funny because we used to call her white chocolate. Because
okay, so I actually had this question personally because like I'm a diehard Caribbean. Like that's the only culture I'll personally claim. So how do people from Africa, how do Africans view people from the Caribbean? Like, do they view them as like African Americans?
Well, you guys are still Africans. We do view you guys as less than African, but still African. We view you as more African than African Americans.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
We respect your culture a lot more. You won't get hate from us, but you won't be considered as an African. 100%.
Alright, so my question is, since Thanksgiving is coming up, what are your Thanksgivings like? Do both your Polish and African side combine it, or like every Thanksgiving y'all alternate with the meals?
Yeah, so my African side, we don't really do Thanksgiving that big. Africans aren't really big on Thanksgiving that much. But my white side, we're big on it. We all meet up. We'll be like 20 people. Our family on my white side isn't that big compared to my African family. I have like probably close to, and I'm talking about direct blood, like 400 family members on my African side. It's crazy. That family tree runs so deep. And then in terms of acquaintances and friends and family, we're in the thousands. We're
That's
talking,
crazy.
yeah, like damn near more than the school.
That's
More
crazy.
people that are at this school. They hold parties and stuff, and they'll have feasts sometimes in like the public park. You pay like $10 to come, and then you get like it's like a buffet. It's really nice. I think that's one thing I've never got to experience that I've always really wanted to.
Yeah.
Is like a Black American Thanksgiving, where it's like the entire family, you know, is all there, and you guys, it's just so much fun, and I've never got to really have that because, like I said, Africans don't take Thanksgiving that seriously, and my white side is relatively small, and like I said, they don't have the same culture, you know, as Black Americans do. Like I've always wanted to pull up to a cookout and they're playing Get Down on It, you know,
Yeah.
you know, or something like that, and we just having a good time, you know. Like I haven't gotten to have that yet, so that's something that I really want to be able to have when I have my family and I incorporate my friends and we do something like that. But yeah, that's one thing I'm really jealous of. I mean, I still consider myself a Black American and an African.
Yeah.
You know, I'm both. So it's like, well, yeah, that's always love that stuff. I think that's the most beautiful thing about Black culture is Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving.
Okay. And we brought this up last podcast, but I want to understand your view on Black parents or parents in general just beating their kids. Like, do you feel like there's a better way for parents to go about discipline rather than putting physical force on a kid?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a beating, like belt out, everything, like just wilding on you is, I don't agree with that. I think that just scars the kid and that makes the kid resent you. And I don't think any of us have ever forgot our beatings.
Yeah.
We remember them in detail.
You ever got beat with a charger?
Not with a charger, but when your dad is 6'2", 250 of muscle, and his hand, that's a lot worse than a charger.
Yeah.
Straight to skin. So, and it definitely has created some resentment, you know, like that's in the back of my mind. It's not a lot there anymore, but you'll never forget that, especially because it's over like small things. And we all know how Black parents, they're not very agreeable in terms of kid versus what teacher says, or kid versus whoever is accusing you of doing something. You never believe the kid. We're not lying to you guys, you know.
Bro,
Why do they always think we're
on the
lying?
last episode, I literally said exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Like the parent, or like as Black parents, they always believe the teacher or someone who has higher power over their kid. They always believe them, no matter what you say to them.
And then that's really bad too, because it builds this belief in the kid's mind that whatever they say is always wrong, and that their parents never trust them.
Yeah.
So then what does that create down the road? It creates issues with Black men specifically because they get beat more than Black women do, of them not opening up to their family, and not only their family but their friends, because now every time they associate opening up or making a mistake in their life, they think of being beat. So
Probably right. I don't
It's-
talk to my parents at all.
Yeah, me, like growing up, bro, my dad, he was, both of my parents are Black, but my dad, he was more on the calm side. Like, he rarely beat me. It was like, he maybe beat me only 3 times. My mom was wilding out because, like, I didn't mess with school growing up. So, like, growing up, it was hard for me to, like, talk to my mom about certain things. And then that also affected me mentally because, like, I rarely cry, and it's probably because of that. Because, like, of being beat, having the trauma of crying from the beating, so like I rarely cry, whatever, and like I don't really open up to like people about certain situations I go through. So like being beat as a kid definitely has problems later on in the future. So that's why me growing up, or like when I have a family, I'm not beating any of my children at all.
oh yeah, no, for sure. And I think sitting down with a kid and just talking it out with them, like you'd be surprised. Like kids are stupid, but they'll listen. Like if you sit down, like I'll never forget the worst thing my mom ever said to me was, "I'm not upset, I'm just disappointed." And I was like, "Oh, damn!" Like that hit me, and I never did that silly stuff in school again. I never played around and talked and made jokes again after that, because I was like, "Damn!" Like you don't need to beat a kid to show you're disappointed, you know, or upset with their behavior. And it's not going. Of course, sometimes like yeah, you get beat up by them, and you're like, I'm never doing that again. I don't want to experience that. But on the flip side, it could be, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
You know, clearly they ain't got no respect for me. You know, so I'm gonna just wild out even more. I'm gonna do even crazier stuff now.
Yeah.
You know, because kids who get beat a lot after a certain while is like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, if I mess up in school, I'm gonna get my ass whooped. I already know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even scared no more.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's, so I might as well just be stupid anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, then it builds that bad mindset, because it's like, if it's just a beating that happens, a lot of times like black parents don't even have a conversation with you. It's just a beating and that's it. And I think that's really bad, because it's the conversation that's gonna change stuff, not the violence. The violence is only gonna add to whatever issues going on in that kid's head.
Yeah.
I think what we need to do with parents, and specifically the black community, is just promote expressing your feelings, and psychology is a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, we need to get our kids psychologists, or just not even psychologists, but give them someone to talk to about their problems from a young age, and let them know that expressing your feelings is okay, and it is necessary as humans. Like, we have to do it. We have to talk about our stuff. We can't bottle it up.
Yeah.
Because then when, you know, your late teens, early 20s, that's when you start just having these breakdowns, and like, you know, life starts to overwhelm you. I think that's why we don't see all this fighting amongst the white community, because they are just more in tune with their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why we see kids in the black community and the Hispanic community going around beating each other, trying to be in gangs. Like, you know, white gangs don't really exist, you know. Why do gangs exist? They exist because you're not getting the love and support that you desire at home, so you look for it in other people who are going through the same situation as you. You know, gangs aren't for protection, they're for mental protection from your family, because they're not doing what they need to do to make you feel comfortable and safe. So, yeah.
And speaking on that, I feel like when a parent beats you, they say they do it out of love, but then it's like in the back of your head as a kid, it's like, you're hurting me, and it's like, how do you love me if you hurt me? And then also to add on to that, with the mental thing, it's like a lot of black people, they grow up in the projects, low income environments, so it's like that's already a factor. On top of that, you getting beat at home, so then that's also why they result to going into gangs, to feel loved by others that they don't at home.
Any other questions?
Not that I can think of.
Jay, you got a question?
No.
You have any questions, bro?
Yeah, for us.
Well, you know, yeah, what made you guys want to start this podcast?
Alright, so I always wanted to start a podcast because growing up, I always looked up to YouTubers, content creators, and I always thought it was interesting. And you know, I just like to talk. I just like to talk about different things, debate, just, you know, voice my opinion and just share my opinion with others.
Yeah.
And also, you know, have like conversation going back and forth on different topics. So I was like, I might as well, you know, just do it in front of a camera, start posting, because I definitely love social media. So that's what started the podcast.
Okay.
And also KZ, he's funny, he's good at talking, so I was like, I might as well just do it with him.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm only funny when it's like regular. Like some of the stuff that I be funny with, I can't put that on a podcast. But yeah, it was he was like, you want to like I wanted to start a podcast. He told me, and I was just like, all right, let's do it.
Indeed.
And that was it. And we just did it.
Yeah. And I would say, what is your goal for this podcast? Where do you want to see it be in, like, we'll say 2 years?
Definitely have some type of following, because I feel like with a lot of podcasts, people really just focus on one topic. With my podcast, as you can see, we just have a whole bunch of random questions, and it's just to like connect to people who can understand us. Because I feel like podcasts, they take it way too seriously, whereas we're just having fun. We're just talking like a regular conversation, how friends do. So I feel like people could just connect to what we're talking about.
For sure.
All right, well, thank you for tuning in to the second episode of Double Foot Fighter Podcast. Thank you, Mr. Army, for coming in.
Sir, thank you for having me on, John. KZ, thank you.
And I hope you all have a good day.
Catch you.
Been a pleasure.